You make me feel like everything's alright every night. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook and or Twitter, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com for these fly shades, super fly shades, and this chuggy lip. In fact, we have a promo deal where you can get these super fly shades and this chuggy lip for $25. Ooh, that's right. I'm giving y'all drug lords today. That's what I feel like. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, let's talk about Smokey Robinson's Inside My Life with David Ritz. And those of you who are a part of the book club, you know that we love us some David Ritz when he not letting the celebrity be on that bullshit. So for those of you who are new here, if you hear some snores or some grunts in the background, it's Lou, my Frenchie, also known as That's Some Pig. But it's Lou, okay? And occasionally you'll hear it. Don't let it deter you from the channel because we get quite busy over here. I can see Daddy standing there. I can hear his soothing baritone voice. It's a soft summer's day with the sun blazing down and the clouds floating by. We're fishing, our poles dangling in the water, our feet dangling off the pier, and Daddy's telling stories. He's a tall, beautiful, built, honey-tanned black man with a deep, easy country drawl. He always calls me boy. Boy, he says, back in Selma, Alabama, things was different for black folks, especially my family. See, my papa, your grandfather, he was a powerful, handsome man, but he was used. Owners turned him into a stud. Many a time they'd order him to mate with their prettiest lady slaves. Wanted them to turn out perfect kids who'd sell for big money. They kept using Papa till he met a woman he loved. That turned out to be my mama. He stayed with her. Then history took over. What do you mean, Daddy? Emancipation tripped up the slave owners. Okay, anyway, black men at times, not all black men, but there are certain black men that suffer from the stud syndrome, okay? They believe that they were put on this earth to breed. Shut up, Lou. And I think that way of thinking dates back to this particular era. They foolhardily believe that their manhood is equated with how many children they have. And I'm not going to limit this type of thinking to just the poor or underprivileged or uneducated, because you have people with money with the same type of thinking, like the dude, NBA YoungBoy. He's like 22 or 23 years old and he has 12 or 14 kids, something like that, okay? And he got money right now. His career could take a sudden turn, child, and you be in the child support line just like all the rest of the women that are trying to get their money from their baby father. Then you have Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon got the bread. He's intelligent enough to put or invest his money. Not that NBA YoungBoy isn't, because I really don't know what his circumstances are. But he has enough intelligence to invest and make sure that his children will be taken care of. What I don't respect is just the different baby mothers. Like, I think that Cannon had like 3 kids in 1 year. What in the hell? What kind of Negro mess is that? I mean, come on. And on top of that, Nick Cannon, you know you have a disease that can be passed down to your children. Come on. And you know how hard lupus is. Emancipation tripped up the slave owners. He couldn't swoop up any of Papa and Mama's kids. 12 children were born, all free, and you're looking at one of them. I was fascinated by my father's past. I loved asking him questions, yet the answers never quite satisfied. But why don't I know any of your family? I'd inquire. Look, boy, I haven't seen hide nor hair of any of them since I was 12. I already done told you that story. Tell it again. So let me tell you the story. What happened was, when he was young, he had a bully. The bully was white. But because Papa, who nickname is Five, you'll find out later, he wasn't a sucker. So he carried a switchblade with him. Okay? And one day, the bully had approached him, and Five said, "Not today, Satan." And when he started to take a swing at me, I cut him. Cut him deeper than I wanted. Cut his leg. He started bleeding, and I started panicking, because back then, no colored could draw blood from a white and live to tell about it. Is that when you ran away? Ran like the devil? Never turned around, not even to say goodbye to my folks. Just headed for the train tracks and prayed no harm would come to my family for what I had did. But I wasn't thinking. I was just running for the first freight that came along. Jumped on and never looked back. Never saw any of my family again. Not once. Doesn't that make you sad? Boy, I thought we were supposed to be fishing, not thinking. That was Daddy. Loved to fish so much. My niece called him Daddy Fish, but his main nickname given by his bowling alley buddies was Five. Five was a sweetheart. He was generous, but he was also a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Booze did that. Split his personality in half until there were two daddies. The kind daddy and the crazy daddy. The peaceful daddy and the fighting daddy. After I jumped that freight, he said, I found me a little dog. Now me and that mutt made our way up north, hoboing around, working open markets. See, the dog was a ratter. He'd catch rats running through the fruits and vegetables. That's how we'd make a little money and move on. Did that for some years until the dog died and I decided to settle down in a big city. By then it was 1919 and I was living in Cleveland, Ohio. That's the reason you see me rooting for the Cleveland Indians, the Cleveland Browns, and every other goddamn Cleveland ball team. Even when I finally moved to Detroit and married your mother, Cleveland never left my heart. As a kid, I remember Daddy driving us to Cleveland to watch baseball games. The Indians had black players like Satchel Paige, and my soul filled with joy just to be with Five, eating popcorn and hot dogs and watching Larry Doby smack that little white ball beyond the big banks of blazing lights, sending it sailing all the way to the moon. So listen, many people forget about this entry in the Motown Pictures lineup. But if you have not seen Bingo Long and the Traveling All-Stars, you guys are missing out. I told you my mom had me at 15 years old. Where she went, I went with her. A lot of times she took me to see movies with her because she was going out on dates and stuff after she broke up with my father, because she was like, this ain't working. I went to go see Bingo Long and the Traveling All-Stars. And what happened was I did not want the movie to end, but it did. So I told my mother how interested I was in the Negro Baseball League. So she said, okay, let me buy you this book. The book was a Josh Gibson book. Astounding. Baby, if you've never read a book before that is associated with sports, that Josh Gibson book is something special. In the car home, resting my head on Daddy's shoulder, he'd tell me more stories, his voice deep and dark as night. In the 30s, he'd say, bowling alleys got to be popular. That's when I got my job as a pin setter over at the Whittier Recreation Center. Now the alley was closed during the summer, so I helped out this car mechanic. Anything to stay alive. But come winter, I'd be back in the alley. That's where they started calling me 5. 'Cause alley number 5 was my favorite. Wouldn't work any other, but I also wanted to get ahead. Boy, you always need to get ahead. I saw that the pen captain had charge over sleeping accommodations. Back then, bowling alleys had cots and showers. Plus, he sold sandwiches, cigarettes, and wine. He oversaw all the alleys. He even had assistants. Hell, the pen captain made so much money in winter, he could vacation all summer. Man, that's what I wanted to be, a pen captain. And that's what I became. In no time, I was making $70 a day and $200 on weekends. Got me enough money to buy a brand new 1939 Buick right off the assembly line. And that was the car that caught your mama's eye. I'm telling you, the ninjas don't buy the cars and the clothes for themselves. They buy it for us. I don't care what them men tell you. Now, mama had a sharp eye and keen mind. She was a big-boned woman with light skin and a love for music, poetry, and book learning. She schooled herself. Her name was Flossie, and she was a powerful presence in the world. Her father, Reverend Benjamin Smith, left her mother in Memphis, going up north to start a church. Grandpa's mother was a Caucasian French lady with interchangeable blue-green eyes. The source, according to Mama, of my eye. Mama dropped out of school in the 8th grade, but fashioned her own education. She was disciplined. Every day she'd learn to spell, pronounce, and use a minimum of 5 new words. She loved language. In fact, she was fluent in 2 languages, English and cuss. What the hell is cuss? What's cuss, y'all? She was wise and high-minded. Wait a minute, cuss? Does he mean cussin'? She was wise and high-minded, but she was also down. A savvy street woman who could tongue lash you into ribbons. Mama's life was her own invention. She wasn't one to be led around. She wasn't afraid. She was a tough-minded, bold, and resourceful woman. Her lot hadn't been easy, but she offered no excuses and made no apologies. She had 2 husbands and 2 daughters before marrying Daddy. Her first beau, Alfred Headneck Bynum, wed her when she was only 15. Their union ended violently. It happened one night when their baby girl, Geraldine, was only 6 months old. Mama was in the back holding Jerry in her arms when she heard a knock at the front door. Headneck went to answer. Boom. Mama's heart froze. She hurried towards the door where she saw her husband thrown against the wall, his body sliding down, his eyes wide in horror. Blood spurted from a gaping red hole in his stomach. He'd been shot to death by a fellow worker named Nailface. They were both plastered. Apparently, Nailface was plastered on booze and arguing over a crap game. Went berserk. Face and Neck had been best friends. At age 18, Mama took Jerry and moved to St. Louis, where she married a man she knew from Memphis, William Henry Beamy Ligon. Now, Beamy was crazy jealous, and one night, after a dance, they fought until Mama fell down a flight of stairs. Whether he pushed her or she tripped, Mama never made clear. Either way, she was hurt. Beamy rushed her to the hospital where the doctor said there was no serious damage either to her or the baby. The baby turned out to be my second sister, Rose Ella. I've had it with jealous men, said Mama. I'm going home. Back in Memphis, she lived with Grandma for a spell. In fact, Mama did Grandma a world of good. Not only taught her to read and write, but convinced her to apply for the money the U.S. government owed her. Grandma's second husband died fighting in World War I, and she had benefits coming. They finally came, but only after years of Mama doggedly pursuing the matter. Grandma used the money to remodel, and Mama bought herself a grand piano. See, Mama had God-given talent, perfect pitch, a lovely contralto voice, and the neighbors would come round to hear. Five was a player. He liked his women, but when he met Mama, he'd met his match. Sure, he was a distinguished-looking cat, graying at the temples. You might think he was a doctor or a lawyer, but Mama was no slouch. In those days, the criteria for a fox were fair skin, curly hair, and big legs. I get it. I can see that. I mean, it is the sign of the times. Mama had it all, and Daddy was dazzled. Here's how they hooked up. Pop had a pal named Claude, a mechanic who looked so much like Five. You'd confuse them for brothers. Even had the same last name, Robinson. Now Claude knew about these fine-looking sisters, Babe, Bay, and Catherine. They were Mama's cousins, and like Mama, they were super fine. They were having a party. I'm bringing you on this set, said Claude, 'cause I know how you like the ladies. I'm ready, Five replied. Soon as they arrived, Daddy took center stage, flirting flamboyantly, setting up the house by buying everyone drinks, throwing around money like there was no tomorrow. At the same time, he played it cool, lavishing attention on all the foxes except for Flossie, the chick he wanted most. Child, that's the goop. That's what they do. Remember I told y'all about Libra men, they be weasels? Well, the Libra men be teaching me the game. So do Leos, after they play the game on you. But Libra men teach you the game. This fine-ass chocolate Libra Metro worker, ooh, he was so fine. Had that pretty black hair until it fell out. Because them ones with that pretty hair, that shit be the first to go. He was like, Nay, you know how I make a woman interested in me? I said, how? He said, I just walk up to her at the bar, if she at the bar, and say, you want a drink? Sure, I want a drink. And he go get her a drink and then just walk away and be like, okay, have a nice night. And he said he didn't put the curiosity in the woman's mind as to why he don't want to talk to me. What's the deal? What's poppin'? Don't you see I'm fine, ninja? You just wanted to buy me a drink, so that piques the curiosity. Another thing that he said he would do is never ask a woman for sex. Never. Even if they in an intimate setting and they Netflixing and chilling. He said Netflix and chill really means Netflix and chill to him. So now the woman thinking in her mind, why do you don't want me? Why he don't want none of my pastanka? So by the time he done siced her and gooped her, she throwing the vagina on him. And, doing all kinds of magical feats with him because she trying to turn him out. Because who is he not to want me? At the same time, he played it cool, lavishing attention on all the foxes except Flossie, the chick he wanted most. A bunch of fine talent, she told her cousins, using the street term for good looks. Wasted on a foolhardily man. But the foolhardily man was a determined man. He did his homework, found out where Mama lived, and even learned she had 2 daughters, the oldest of whom, Jerry, was pregnant with her first child. Most cats would have run. Not Daddy. Daddy hung. Oh, okay. But, when I'm, God damn, Flossie already a grandmammy to be? Okay. But it is, it's the sign of the times. I told y'all my mama had me at 15. That means she was pregnant at 14. It is what it is. When he showed up at Mama's, he was riding in style. His brand new Buick was something to see. Flossie, though, was no floozy. She was a tough judge of character and didn't trust a man. Said he wasn't her type. Said Five was jive. But Five was also full of surprises. He charmed the stripes off a tiger. He'd show up at Mama's holding a big bouquet of sweet-smelling flowers and flanked by 2 of his pen boys carrying cartons of groceries. Oh, that would have got me, girl. got me, girl. Any man that will fill up my Frigidaire, ooh. Have you ninjas seen the price of bread, milk, cheese, cereal? Oh my God. I invited that ninja in to live. He even bought toys for Jerry's unborn baby. This was during the Depression, mind you, when money was minimal. Mama, though, was tough. She refused the offerings. You gotta accept, argued Five. After all, I get the stuff wholesale. Flossie was proud but practical. You can buy my groceries for me wholesale, but only if you let me pay. Once he had a hold, Daddy hung even tougher, coming by on Sundays, giving my sisters gifts and rides in his Buick. He ingratiated himself into the family. In early 1939, for instance, when Jerry's daughter Sylvia was born, Five passed out cigars and bragged until folks thought she was his own grandchild. He won Mama's heart and Mama's hand a year later on February 19th, 1940. I was born. They were happy. 3 years later, they divorced.